Hi, I'm Ellen Collin and I'm off to the USA on my very first trip to the Lone Star State of Texas. Just the name Texas conjures up different images in each of us, whether it be Wild West cowboys and gunfights, country music or space exploration, and I want to experience them all. My plan is to do a city tour of eastern Texas, from north to south and ending in the glorious Gulf Coast. I'll be starting off in the cowboy city of Fort Worth, before heading to the glitzy city of Dallas. Moving south, my next stop will be Space City of Houston, and finally the coastal city of Galveston. I'm also hoping to cram in some traditional Texan rural life while I'm there. Well, I'm all packed, I think so anyway, and I'm really excited to start Ellen's Texan adventure. Howdy and welcome to the last episode in my Texan adventure. It all started in the cowboy town of Fort Worth, where I developed a real need to become a true cowgirl. So much so that my next stop was the Wildcatter Ranch, where I honed those western skills like a master. Next stop was the impressive city of Dallas, where I learned a great deal about fashion and investigated the last moments of John F. Kennedy. I'm now in the city of Houston, where I've already experienced some amazing green spaces and seen some dinosaur bones. Formed in 1836, the city was named after General Sam Houston, who was President of the Republic of Texas before it became part of the USA. It was Sam Houston's victory in the Battle of San Jacinto and the Texan independence from Mexico that followed, which gives the city its name, and Texans have remembered the site with pride. I'm standing outside the San Jacinto Monument, which symbolizes when Texas got their freedom from Mexico. Funny story about this monument, it's actually taller than the one in Washington, D.C., by the star on the very top. Having defeated the Alamo, the Mexican army, under the command of General Santa Anna, was chasing down General Sam Houston and his men. They were outnumbered and running for their lives. After 3 months, the Texans were getting restless and losing faith in their general. One evening, as whispers of mutiny were spreading, General Houston realized a weakness in the Mexican tactics. As they took an afternoon siesta, the Texans crept up on the Mexican camp, and at 4:30 p.m., they attacked. The battle lasted just 18 minutes, and the outnumbered Texans were victorious. As well as the monument, close by, majestically bobbing in the water, is the battleship Texas. An appropriate site for what this area represents. As we know, Texas is famous for its barbecue, and it wouldn't be right if I came to Houston and didn't try it out. I'm here at Jackson Street Barbecue to see what it's about. Run by lifelong best friends, the Jackson Street Barbecue is a place that blends food and sport and is hugely popular with locals. It's never empty, and on game nights, you'll be lucky to squeeze in for a bite. Starving.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Good. Can I get the chopped beef sandwich, please?
Yeah.
You're the owner?
No, ma'am, I'm the pit master.
So, can you tell me a bit about the restaurant?
The restaurant, this will be our third baseball season. Before, it used to be an old dance hall. and they say it is haunted.
Oh, I like that.
Well, every once in a while, I'll be in here by myself, and the door over here will open and close by itself. There was a fire here, and a fireman died, and so the story is it's the ghost of the fireman. It's a friendly ghost.
Okay.
Doesn't scare you. Doesn't do anything bad.
He can stay then.
Yes, ma'am. He can stay.
So you're kind of famous for your meat here. Can you tell me the different types that you have?
We have the brisket, we have the pork ribs, we have our German sausage, our venison deer sausage, we have our turkey, we have our beef ribs, and we have our pulled pork.
Nice. So what's your favorite thing on the menu?
The brisket.
Yeah?
Yes, ma'am.
Texans love their brisket.
Yes, ma'am. You don't find it much on the East Coast. Mostly on the East Coast, you'll have pulled pork, which anybody can do pulled pork. If you put it on there and leave it long enough, it's almost indestructible.
Yeah.
But the brisket is a little more finicky. It tends to tell us when it's ready. We don't tell it.
Right. So you're busy here nearly every night of the week, but I heard you're going to be very busy tomorrow.
Tomorrow is opening day for the Astros. Yes, ma'am, we are going to be very busy.
Wow. Okay. So if UK visitors were coming into this restaurant, what would you suggest for them to get from the menu?
I would suggest the brisket and ribs. You get good sausage everywhere, but our brisket and ribs are hard to beat. We strive to do competition barbecue on a daily basis.
With a tummy full of delicious Texan food, I can't wait any longer and make my way to the most famous tourist opportunity that's a definite must-see. Houston is also known as Space City because it's the home of NASA. So if you want to take a trip to the moon or Mars, this is the way to go. Space Center, Houston. The Johnson Space Center is a huge museum dedicated to the works of NASA and to mankind's discoveries in space, both old and new. First up on the tour, I need to feel the part. So it's fashion time. So they've kitted me up. I'm now a fully fledged member of Space Center Houston. Let's go see what the exhibits are all about. It's difficult to know where to start, as there is so much going on around me. Lighting and sound effects keep my senses dazzled. So I'm just going to let my curiosity take the lead. So behind me, this is called Mission Mars. It's a new exhibit here to the Space Center, and it describes what Mars is like and how NASA's trying to get there. Let's take a look. The Mars display is enormous. On show are scale models of technology being developed, which, even scaled down, makes an impressive sight. As if they weren't already hitting wow points, there is also an opportunity to do something that few people have ever done. So this exhibit actually offers a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. There's actually a fragment from Mars that you can go ahead and touch. Awesome. I touched Mars. That's one thing off my bucket list. So these are actually meteorites from Mars, and the one in the back is actually quite interesting and rare because the outer shell is still black from when the meteorite came through the atmosphere. This display represents the force it takes to get to the space station and the force it takes to get to Mars. Let's have a go. That was a lot more effort than I thought it would be. But now we know what we need to do to get to the red planet. Paul Spana was on hand to teach me more.
This exhibit is called Mission Mars, and it's about all the challenges of what it takes to get to Mars.
Wow, so what are some of the things we need to know?
NASA has 3 goals. These are the things that we have to learn about ahead of time. We want to learn about the geology, the atmosphere, and then whether or not there's life there. Those things are important so that we know as much about Mars as we can before we go there.
That's amazing. So if we send people to Mars tomorrow, what would they need? They'd obviously need to start growing crops. Do you think that's...
One of the big issues is going to be food. Right now, NASA is pushing the limits of preserving food, but we need food that can last for a long time. And so NASA is working on that to make food, to preserve food as long as possible. But you're going to have to grow food. You'll have to grow food to supplement the preserved food that you have, so that you have the proper nutrition. You'll have to grow food on your way out to Mars, and then once you get to Mars, you're definitely going to you'll definitely have to raise your own crops once you're there.
Wow, how long do you think it will be?
I don't know what it's going to be. I would say it's in the near future. It may not be in the next 10 or 20 years, but pretty soon after that, yes.
Wow, that's hard to fathom. So we just saw some meteorites earlier on. How do you
Yes.
discover them?
Well, NASA looks for meteorites at the Antarctic. So every year they do an expedition to the Antarctic. And they go there because it's a very difficult place to go, but it's a little bit easier to look for rocks there because it's all ice. So it's all white snow, and so they go out and it's easier to spot where meteorites have landed.
Wow. So how can you tell a meteorite from a normal rock?
Well, when the geologists look at it, they can tell there's a number of things. One is the characteristics of the rock and what it's made out of. It could be a rocky type material or an iron meteorite. Another thing that they look for is the shape of it. When it comes into the atmosphere, it takes on sort of a ballistic shape. So it's a teardrop shape normally before it may or may not break up. But they look for the signs of how it was that shape when it came into the Earth's atmosphere.
Yeah, it's amazing.
We say we have over 400 things to see and do here. What I like to recommend people when they come here is to go through our Starship Gallery, and that's where we have the history of manned space flight. So it starts off with Mercury and the Gemini program and Apollo. And we do a really good job of explaining about the history here. So when you go through the gallery, it's set up like a timeline. You'll learn about the history starting with the first flights into space, and it takes you all the way up to present day, which is information about the ISS.
So can you tell me, I'm just wondering out of my own curiosity, what kind of preparation goes into actually sending a man to the moon? Obviously you're preparing the man, you're preparing the vessel. What else happens?
Well, here in Houston is home of astronaut training. So all the astronauts are trained here. Preparations for the vehicle and the rocket are such as building and preparing them to be sent into space are done at other NASA centers. But here in Houston, we're the home of astronaut training. So astronaut training starts years ahead before their actual mission. I think the medical issues are one of the first things that they do is to make sure that the doctors and scientists are keeping tabs on them and testing them as all the way up through, and then including on the flight to make sure that things are going well. They do training in, there's a site at NASA called the NBL, the Neutral Buoyancy Lab, and it's the world's largest indoor swimming pool. So one of the things that they do for training is train for what we call EVAs or spacewalks. And the closest that they can get to simulating space in the weightlessness environment is to go in this giant swimming pool.
Wow. So what do we expect for the future then here at Space Center Houston?
We have a very exciting treat that's coming up later this year. It's going to be in October. There's an exhibit called Mission Moon. This National Air and Space Museum in Washington, D.C. is where they display the Apollo 11 command module. This is the command module of the first lunar landing. So the Smithsonian's decided to put it on a 4-city tour, and the tour is going to begin in October. It will be the first city to have displayed it. So this will be the first time that the capsule has been on display outside of Washington, D.C. since 1971. It's never before been on public view in Houston. So we're going to have it here in our own building. Wow. It was very exciting. Not only will we have Apollo 11, but we already have Apollo 17. So you'll be able to see the command module from the first lunar landing and Apollo 17, which is the last lunar landing.
Awesome. So what's your favorite exhibit today?
My favorite exhibit is in Starship Gallery, where we have the historic artifacts. What I like the most about it is that we have the world's largest display of moon rocks. So that's, I think, what really sets us apart from all other science centers and especially space museums, is that no one else has an exhibit as unique as this.
The displays are wonderfully interactive, and you really feel a part of what NASA is doing. They bring the scientific information to life in an easily digestible fashion.
So this rocket is only a sixth of the size of the one being built at the moment, and this one is 45 feet tall.
When you head to the outside displays, there is a sight which is truly breathtaking. It's not every day you see a space shuttle up close, but not wanting to disappoint, the tour even takes you inside. The real celebration of international space discovery is clear here, and reinforces the feeling that in the grand scheme of things, we really are just one species occupying a tiny corner in the vast infinity of the universe. And of course, there's another opportunity to try one of those once-in-a-lifetime experiences.
So I've already got to touch some of Mars, now I get to touch the moon as well. I touched the moon. Wow, that was incredible. Houston being the home of US space exploration, you would expect them to not disappoint, and they definitely did not. If you're in the area, this is a worth see.
Back on Earth, it's time for some food.
So I've been invited to have dinner here at Sochi in the Marriott Marquis Hotel. I heard it is true Mexican food, so why not? Let's take a look.
Sochi means to bloom or catch fire, and represents another creative endeavor from award-winning chef Hugo Ortega. Sochi offers a dining experience that celebrates the culinary and indigenous richness of Oaxaca, Mexico. First, I think it's time for a drink.
So I just got offered a margarita made with mezcal, which was interesting, so I said yes, I'll go for it. But I asked about the salt on the edge of the glass, and apparently there's worms that live in the mezcal. They're toasted, crushed up with the salt and put on the side of your glass. So I think it's going to stay on the outside of my glass.
Crushed worms mixed with salt. Why didn't I think of that? I've been invited to meet Hugo Ortega, the award-winning head chef of Sochi. A unique experience.
In the restaurant, we make everything from scratch. So we make nixtamal, or we cook corn to make masa. You want to feel it?
Oh, it's
So
like Play-Doh.
It's like a play. Okay. So that's what it is. So what we want to do is, I have a chicken stack over here.
Okay.
We want to make the mole verde.
Okay.
And the mole verde is like this. To this, you add the greens, the tomatillo, the pepper,
This makes a little sauce.
the sauce.
Sauce.
Yeah, sauce. But in Oaxaca we call it mole verde. So that's what it is.
I'm not even going to try to pronounce that.
It's very simple.
Is it simple?
It's just a green sauce.
Green sauce.
Green.
Awesome.
So you do this and then so now we want to turn over here
Okay.
and I want to get some clarified butter.
Right. Okay. Some butter.
And we just get it going and then we want to sear the scallops.
Okay. Just sear.
Just sear.
Okay.
Medium heat and
Hot.
medium heat you just want to make it brown and
So how long do they usually stay in for?
about I would say about maybe 2 minutes each side.
Okay.
And it get too hot,
Yeah.
just reduce the heat and then keep it warm.
So this is your signature dish then?
In many ways, I love shellfish. I love oysters, and for me to cook with the shellfish is always a passion because it's so good for you, but at the same time, it's so delicate. You gotta have a lot of touch in what you do to make sure that it's not overcooked, right?
Overcooked, yeah.
So you just
Scoop
carefully do it around the plate.
Okay. Yeah. And I make a nice design. Trying to make it look pretty.
And way into the plate that it will be beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good.
So would you just bring it over here? I want to pour the sauce.
Okay.
And this is part of our garnish. So you just want to garnish it as you like.
Okay. What do you usually do? Something similar to this?
Something like that.
Yeah. Are these green beans?
Green beans.
Green beans.
Yellow around it.
Pour the sauce on? Mm-hmm. Will I pour it over them? Or in the middle?
In the middle is fine.
That's not that delicate, is it?
No, it's okay. It's
Okay.
okay. Yeah.
The whole thing?
I think that's pretty good.
That's enough?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Awesome. Yeah.
And I want to help you with this. This is so you have over here masa, this black.
Ah.
So the tortilla we burn it, and then we combine that with the masa so they give you that flavor.
I thought that was an accident.
Oh.
Wow.
And then we're going to go over there. I wanna choose and put this.
Right. A bit more color. Some flowers. I spotted them. They're beautiful.
You finish it off with whatever you like.
Okay, I'm just going to go for another flower then.
Yeah.
Maybe a yellow one. Yeah. Wow.
Okay.
Beautiful. How did I do?
Fantastic.
Well, I can't wait to try some.
Oh, sure.
Thank you for having me.
I knew I'd have what it takes.
That was amazing. I'm going to give it Ellen's stamp of approval.
It's time to leave the city of Houston and head to my final destination. I'm traveling south once more towards the Gulf of Mexico and the seaside.
So I'm on my last stop of my Texas trip, and what a way to end. The sandy beaches, the beautiful seaside. I'm here in Galveston.
Galveston, in its golden era, was known as the playground of the South and enjoyed a booming tourist economy thanks to its beaches, convenient location, and numerous attractions. In recent years, it has reclaimed that title, as it still boasts 32 miles of beautiful beaches, a wealth of new attractions, and is home to the 4th busiest cruise ship port in the USA. It looks totally different to the cities I've visited before, and I'm looking forward to finding out what it has to offer. I'm staying at the Hotel Galveston Spa, a grand hotel that looks like it has more than just a few secrets to tell.
So I'm here with Bobby. He's the hotel ambassador, and he's going to give us a brief history of the hotel. Thanks for having us, Bobby.
Well, thank you for coming. Glad to have you.
Thank you. Will you show us around?
Okay, let's start walking this way. Go right in. Now, this used to be called the ballroom. This is where all the big galas was held, but we named it the music hall.
Oh, okay.
Back there. In fact, this picture, it depicts what we looked like in 1911. Notice the windows are up. We didn't have air conditioning.
Wow.
Notice the steam heat.
Okay.
This is where many stars from Hollywood performed in here.
No way.
Oh yes, this island was Little Las Vegas at one time.
What?
That's right.
It seems like such a sleepy town now.
Oh, that's right, but it was nothing like that in, say, from the 20s, 30s, 40s, into the 50s. Yeah, we was wide open. We had the famous Balinese room that Sinatra and the Rat Pack played across the street. They lived here. He lived down at the Table Club. We get all kind of sightings in this ballroom. All kind of stars have performed in here. And over there, some people, the guests and our staff, recites seeing things that's out of the ordinary. Oh, we have paranormals come through ever so often.
Ooh, like a Frank Sinatra ghost.
Looking for all the 3 women supposed to have been seen sitting right on down, almost where that flag is, with Victorian dresses on. And now when we come in here and turn the lights on, there was nobody there. We couldn't. But one night, in here, 2 o'clock in the morning, we was cleaning up after a big event. I think it was a wedding. And we set up for breakfast back under the window. And I was the bartender then. I was bringing the bar out. And a guy, was one of the security guards, playing Ghostbusters. He come out of the kitchen over there and flipped out the lights and said, if there's anything in here, if there's a ghost in here with us, do something to make us know that you're in here with us. And a glass off that table hit the wall, and I hit the door.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I didn't stay around.
That would be the same.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the portrait of Mr. Bernardo de Galveston. That's who we named the island after and the hotel. He was a Spaniard. During the Revolution, when George Washington was fighting the British, they sent secret letters to Spain to him, asking for help to the South. Okay. Yes, because we was kind of losing to the South. Yeah. And he brought his troops on ships down the Gulf of Mexico way. He fought up and down the Gulf of Mexico and the Mississippi. And he never lost a battle. So this gentleman became the governor of Cuba, Florida, and Louisiana. Then the king of Spain, King Carlos, called him and sent him to New Spain to succeed his father as viceroy, New Spain being Mexico now.
Yeah.
Now that's supposed to be an empty corridor, but some of our unpaid guests is in there. Yeah. Look in there and tell me, can you see any of them in there? Can you make anything out? That's supposed to be an empty hall. Yes, ma'am. Look towards the glass door. Can you see his legs?
Yes. Oh God, here.
There you are. Those are the kind of images you get around here.
Wow, we might get some on our cameras then.
That's right. Even in the ladies' bathroom, there's a little girl, they say, that bounce a ball in there. Paranormals has come here asking her to speak, saying she's shy. Well, I just let her be shy.
Let her be shy.
Yeah.
Don't talk to me.
I don't need her talking to me. Now, this might interest you quite a bit, this painting up here.
Okay.
That's some of the few contestants of the very first Miss Universe in the country.
No way.
The pageant was held out in front of the Galveston, Murdoch's across the street, and the Crystal Palace.
Wow.
Back in the 20s, 1928.
Oh my gosh.
That's
They're
right.
very pretty.
The first Miss Universe.
I could listen to Bobby's voice for hours, but there is still plenty more to see. I dropped off my luggage, explored my room and all it had to offer before venturing out for something to eat. Gatos has come highly recommended, and walking in I can see and smell why. They say they have an unwavering commitment to serving the freshest Gulf seafood, with simple recipes that keep the crowds coming back. Luckily, I'm getting a chance to meet the restaurant owner and chef for a more personal experience.
Well, Nick, thank you for having us in your beautiful restaurant here this evening.
It's my pleasure.
So can you tell me about it?
Yes, well, we started back in 1911, over 100 years ago. My great-grandfather, San Jacinto Gaito, started on Murdoch's Bathhouse, which was just down the street, a little cafe called Gaito's Cafe. And eventually it changed and merged into a seafood restaurant. In the 30s, we moved to this property here where you're currently sitting, and have been here ever since, and have expanded the restaurant and changed and shifted and moved things around to the restaurant we are today.
That's amazing. So it's always been somebody running the restaurant in your family?
Yes, always been in the family and continue. I'm fourth generation.
So Nick, they smell absolutely beautiful. Can you talk me
Thank
through them?
you. Yes, I can. So this is our deluxe oyster platter. I'll start over here. These are our baked. They have butter and graham cracker crumbs. It's very simple. We have Bienville here, which is shrimp, mushrooms, onion, breadcrumbs, and a little bit of Parmesan cheese. We have Asiago, which is simply just cream and Asiago cheese. Our Monterey, which has cheddar cheese, cream, and sherry. Our Rockefeller right here, which is spinach, onion, anchovy, and jalapeno. And one of my favorites is the Panzini, which is cream, mushrooms, garlic, and Swiss cheese.
Wow,
And in the middle here we have 3 of our fried oysters, which is just fried simply in a cornmeal batter. And then these are our brochette. They're I've got bacon, seasoned flour, and onion, and those are sautéed on a cast iron skillet.
Lovely. So did you come up with these recipes? Or
I did
have they been
not.
passed down?
These have been passed down. I did not come up with these.
You could have
I'm
easily
jealous
taken the
because
credit.
yes, I couldn't take the credit, but these are recipes that we've had for many, many years, and it was a point in time when we just had Rockefeller or we just had the Bienville preparation, and then over time we created a few on our own. I say we, my family, and then eventually came up with this platter. We do make a smaller version of this, which is one of each, which is good for an entree, but this is always a fun one when you're having an appetizer and you have it 3 or 4 people and everyone can pick and choose
It's almost
and
like tapas
talk.
style
Yeah,
seafood.
sure, yeah, and you can talk about each one and what you like and what you don't. And
That's gorgeous.
thank you.
Lovely.
So this is one of our newer dishes. This is redfish on the half shell, and it's called redfish on the half shell because when you fillet the fish, you keep the scales on one side.
Okay.
And so we can grill it on this top side here and then flip it over on the grill, and we'll cover it with a pan so it kind of, the butter and the smoke and everything infuses in the fish while holding in all the juices.
Okay.
So the term on the half shell is taken, from an oyster term. But we started doing this really kind of derived from a lot of anglers on the Texas coast, and redfish is one of the more popular fish to catch on the Texas coast. And a lot of people, when they go catch these fish, they will cook it this way. It's kind of like a home cooking style.
Right.
And it's not something you would typically see in a restaurant. So we brought this in, thought would be something neat to do. And it's actually turned out to be a great little dish. And we top it with jumbo lump crab meat and a little bit of lemon beurre blanc to tie it all together. And it's a nice little dish.
Okay, so Nick, tell me about this. It looks absolutely beautiful.
Well, this is our famous pecan pie. It's famous for a few reasons. One, it's crustless. It doesn't have a traditional graham cracker crust. The crust is comprised of just more pecans. So as you can see here looking at this pie, it has over 100 pecans, and there's no other way to eat pecan pie than to heat it in the oven and top it with vanilla ice cream. And so you see this here, vanilla ice cream, more pecans, and a little bit of our cowboy bourbon sauce.
Oh wow. How is the sauce made?
The sauce made is just a reduction of bourbon and sugar until it's made almost like a caramel, like a syrup.
Getting it all of it in. So good. Really sweet.
It is.
Lovely.
It's hard to finish on your own.
I'll do it. Well, thank you so much for having us today, Nick.
Thank you very much. It was my pleasure.
Beautiful food. I'll definitely be back.
Thank you.
It's a new day, and I'm off to explore Galveston and discover what this city is all about.
Galveston was founded in 1837. It's one of Texas's oldest cities, and for decades it was known as the Wall Street of the South because it was home to a busy port. And so cotton was king back in the day, and people moved to this area for the climate and to just become industry leaders. So we had several rail companies were formed to move the cotton from the port to other places in the United States. It was a bustling immigration port, second to Ellis Island in New York. We have the first and continually published newspaper in Texas, and lots of other firsts. And then in 1900, we didn't have the Weather Channel back then, so rather unexpectedly, we were hit with what's called Isaac's storm, and it today remains the nation's worst disaster, with more than 6,000 people losing their lives in that storm.
Galveston is crammed with history. From housing one of the largest and best preserved collections of Victorian architecture in the country, to dozens of museums, some of which chronicle the encounters with the infamous pirate Jean Lafitte. One such place of interest stands out.
This is the 1892 Bishop's Palace. It was designed by architect Nicholas Clayton, and it's one of the fine mansions along Broadway Avenue here in Galveston. It was built for attorney Walter Gresham and his wife Josephine, and they had 9 children. Today it's a museum. The Galveston Historical Foundation purchased it from the Archdiocese of Galveston-Houston in 2013. So after it was the Gresham residence, the citizens of Galveston pooled their money and made it the home of one of the bishops, the Catholic bishops, Bishop Christopher Byrne. And then once the Archdiocese moved up to Houston, it became a museum. The interior is comprised of an ornate mahogany stairwell. There are many fireplaces and beautiful stained glass windows. There are daily tours, and you can pick up an audio tour, and they're self-guided. So you can learn about all the different rooms, the dining room, the library. You can see where the kids slept, where Josephine and Walter spent their time.
Walking around the inside of this magnificent house really takes you back in time, and it's so well preserved.
Today, Galveston receives about 6 million visitors every year. Of course, many come for the beach, but we also have great attractions like the Bishop's Palace. We have many historic attractions and buildings. We have museums. We have family attractions like the Pleasure Pier and Moody Gardens and Schlitterbahn. So no matter what your family likes to do, they'll find something to do here on Galveston Island.
In 2008, Hurricane Ike devastated the island of Galveston and knocked down a few of their beautiful oak trees. Instead of removing them, what they did was turn them into beautiful pieces of art, just like this one. This is called Birds of Galveston.
These artistic trees are decorated all around and are beautifully crafted. Some of them even have further meanings.
So this tree sculpture is actually Tin Man and Toto from The Wizard of Oz, and these are here in front of this house because the director of The Wizard of Oz was actually born in this house here behind me. That looks familiar. So I'm on the Strand Historical District, and it has loads of lovely little quirky shops around, including a candy factory in an ice cream shop.
I simply can't resist a candy shop. La King's Confectionery is a connection to a bygone era. A family business, it goes back to the 1920s and has been passed down from father to son.
Who's throwing some of these?
Watching the staff make fresh sweets and candy is almost mesmerising, and they involve the customers and kids as much as they can. The machines do their thing, and in an almost hypnotic way, the large multicoloured snake is cut into little bites, wrapped into labels, and in a brief moment, they are ready for sale.
It's good.
Fresh candy. Le King's features a 1920s soda fountain too, serving malts, shakes, ice cream sodas, and many more. They proudly make and serve Texas's first ice cream, Purity.
Oh, try again.
After all that candy, I need a rest, and one particular seat was calling out to me. It was time for lunch, and I've been told about this cheery little place that is worth a stop.
So I'm here at Farley Girls with Roz and Ryan. Thank you for having me, girls.
Welcome.
So tell me about the place.
Well, we've been here. In August will be our 5th birthday.
Yep, August 31st.
So we've survived. We've made the hump.
What do you think?
The
Where
hump.
did it start from?
Well, we grew up in the restaurant business, and we were crazy enough to get into it ourselves. Our parents at one point, had six
Yeah, we
six
did.
restaurants before selling them and then going into the hotel business.
Okay, so you're used to being around restaurants.
Yes.
How it works.
Yes.
And
This is kind of just what it's just what we do. And even, she doesn't have children yet, but even my daughter is a restaurant, we call them restaurant rats. You just kind of, you just don't know any better, so this is what you do. So
Right.
it's,
That's good. And I had some of your salad downstairs, which was absolutely beautiful.
Oh, thanks.
And your menu seems simple, but nice.
We really wanted to be more eclectic and do like these really cool spins on things.
which we did for a little bit.
And then we were like, I really just want some meatloaf.
So you're a perfect team then. You in the back and you.
We're very
Oh,
yin
yeah,
yang.
she's in the back,
You
I'm in the
back,
front.
the other way
Yeah.
around.
Yeah, we're very yin yang
So
for
I'm
sure.
I'm the floor manager.
Thank goodness.
And all that, and catering, and she does the cooking
Yeah,
for the catering.
I just
and
talk to all the
comes up
guys in the
with it.
kitchen. I get to come in no makeup, hair up. Ryan has to, she has to put on a better face than I do. I just kind
We're
of,
lucky she actually got dressed up for you.
yeah,
Oh,
I did this
I'm
just
honored.
for you.
Thank you.
This is my,
She did.
this is not my normal afternoon look.
Well, thank you. I'm honored.
Just outside the city is a unique nature-based theme park area, Moody Gardens. This educational tourist destination has a golf course and a hotel, but is most famous for its main attraction: 3 pyramids that contain different exhibitions of the natural world. The first is the Aquarium Pyramid, which is one of the largest in the region. Second, there's a rainforest pyramid housing tropical plants and animals. And third is the Discovery Pyramid, with a focus on science. Horticultural Exhibits Manager, Danita Brannan, told me more.
Rainforest opened in March of 1993. We have over 50 species of free-flight birds in here, some beautiful, exotic, colorful birds. We have 2 free-roaming two-toed sloths. We have 2 free-roaming white-faced saki monkeys, which are adorable little monkey. We have 2 cotton-top tamarins that are a little adorable little monkey, and the white-faced saki monkeys are a larger monkey, but they're all free-roaming. So you can have an up-close and personal encounter with them. I really don't know exactly how many different species of plants we have in here, but it's well over 1,500, around 1,600 different species of plant. I have about 100 different species just on palm trees. So we're real proud of our palm collection here. Here in the rainforest, we've got plants that represent the tropical regions of Africa, the Americas, and Asia. So, and animals coincide with those plant regions. So we hope you have a really true life experience of a rainforest.
The variety of animals and plants that can be seen here is amazing. And as they roam around freely, I'm really feeling at one with nature. What a beautiful way to end my trip to Texas. My adventure through Texas has been an amazing journey of discovery. I've lived what I think to be every boy's childhood dream. I brought out my inner cowgirl in the cowboy city of Fort Worth, experiencing delights such as rodeo, Billy Bob's honky tonk, and spending time with real cowboys. Totally inspired, my next stop was the authentic Wildcatter Ranch to experience the real day-to-day life of those living out in the West. I was then pleasantly surprised when I headed to the glitzy skyscrapers of Dallas to find it also has large areas of open spaces, and was fascinated to learn more about the last moments of John F. Kennedy. Houston provided museums and food aplenty, and the Space Center Houston wowed me with their amazing displays and out-of-this-world experiences. And I'm ending my adventure by the seaside, in the beautiful coastal city of Galveston. I've loved every minute, and of course there is plenty more of Texas to be discovered, so I can't wait to come back. Until next time, bye for now.